Hey everyone, welcome back to my Women in Motorsport interview series. I have been chatting today with Katie Milner, who is not only an instructor as part of the Formula Woman Racing series that I am in, but she is also a McLaren development driver this season, and she chatted to me about that. She chatted about some very exciting news that is coming up for her very soon in the US, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm really looking forward to bringing you this chat. And please do let me know in the comments who you would like to see me speak to next. Thanks again for joining me, and congratulations also on finishing up the British GT Cup. How was that weekend closing out the season at Donington?
Yeah, it was really good. We've raced there previously this year, so we kind of had a lot of information from racing there in different conditions. So we kind of had a bit of an advantage going into the weekend with what we already knew, and then all the practice sessions and qualifying were dry, and then typically for the race it rained, so we gambled a little bit in the race. I was out first for an hour, and we put a dry setup on the car even though the track was quite greasy and I was on wet tyres. So really I kind of struggled with pace for the first kind of 20 minutes. And then as the track started to dry, our car kind of came alive. And I think I came from like around 22nd to about 16th. So yeah, it was a really good stint from my side. Really good to get some good overtakes in there and kind of finish the season on a high, really.
Definitely, yeah. And I mentioned earlier that you'd been at the assessment day that I was at in Anglesey back last month. I guess I'd love to know, for you being part of Formula Woman from kind of the instructor side, what's the most interesting part of that for you? Because I know for me, especially not being based in the UK where most of the other girls are based, just even being there, meeting other people was awesome, because there was such a kind of sense of community. But I'd love to hear what it was like from your side as well.
Yeah, I think it was really good that everyone was kind of put into groups straight away, and you kind of did all your activities together. And I think that's really important, to actually be connecting with different people and meeting new friends. And you never know where kind of connections with these people can lead in future. And one of the girls that you could have been grouped with might get a drive and then say, oh, I need a teammate, and there might be an opportunity there for you. So yeah, I think it's really good how they try and get you all to connect and become friends. From the driving side, it was really interesting to see kind of the drivers with a bit of natural ability, who could push the car, kind of find the limits. Even though it was really low powered, there was still in every car there's a limit of grip, and it was good to see that a lot of girls were kind of exploring that and seeing where the grip was. And also there's the element that we don't say anything.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting for us to be able to sit there and just watch and observe and see if you can do everything that you did while we were telling you what to do. So yeah, I think we've had some good girls come through, even just from the 2 days at Anglesey, and we've got another 3 or 4 days to go, I think. So yeah, it's going to be interesting when we can whittle them down to however many go through to the next stage.
Yeah, I definitely don't envy anyone involved in that decision-making process, for sure. I think it was interesting as well seeing different people react to different parts of the assessment, because obviously there's kind of 5 different pieces. Out of curiosity, what do you think, if you were one of us, what do you think would have been your biggest thing that you had to prep for?
Well, I did the McLaren shootout 2 years ago, and that's how I got on the McLaren program for the last 2 years. And I was actually it's actually going on today and tomorrow for next year's 4 to go through. And one of the guys doing it is actually one of Jamie's drivers, and he's staying with us this week, sorry. And so we were talking last night, and I just said to him that I came away from those 2 days thinking I couldn't have done any more. I gave 100% in everything that I did, even down to the fitness test. You plank for as long as you can, even though it's killing, and you know, you've got to be mentally strong and everything else. And I think for a lot of, you know, exactly the same for Formula Women, you know, all the girls that are competing for that. I think if you come away and you think I've given 100% in everything, I couldn't have done any more, you know. And even out the car, I've introduced myself to people. You know, I've been the one that put myself forward. And that's kind of comes into the media assessment side of it as well. So yeah, I think just, you know, as long as you feel you've done the best that you can and you couldn't have given any more, then, you know, that's all you can do.
Yeah, I was definitely telling myself that during the fitness part. I was like, okay, it's only 60 seconds. It's going to kill for 60 seconds, but then it's over. So definitely +1 to that. I was obviously having a look at your website before we were chatting, and I think something that really stood out to me about, you know, you have all your career milestones on there, which I think is really cool. And it seems to me that kind of there's like a natural speed that you have. And like you mentioned, you know, getting the overtakes in earlier a couple of weekends ago. Do you think that's like your biggest weapon when you're out on track, just having like that natural speed and that sort of, that, like you mentioned, like a little bit of an extra push to like find the limits?
I think so. I think as a driver, you've got to have a bit of a fire in your belly, and, you know, it was the last one of the year as well, so, you know, it was an even bigger push. And, you know, I don't know where I'll be next year, if I'll be on a grid or, you know, if I won't be racing at all. So there's kind of an element of that as well, where, you know, this could be my last race, you know, in a GT4 on this grid. But, you know, all through the year, I've kind of had that push and that fire. And obviously with the program that I'm on, there's 4 of us on it, and only one is going to go through to next year. So there's been an element of competition the whole year between the 4 of us, and not just what we do on track, you know, everything else that goes around it with you know, all the sim training that we do and the fitness stuff. And, you know, it's so funny when we all train together at iZone and we're doing like the Batak wall, and we're all 4 of us are just so competitive with each other. And we just keep going until, you know, one of us, you know, gets quicker than the others. So, and, you know, same on the sim and everything else that we do around it. So, yeah, I think a lot of determination in racing, because it's quite easy to fall into a bit of a trap where, you know, you're just driving around and you're not pushing every single corner. So, yeah, I think, yeah, you've got to have that fire in your belly.
Definitely. And I suppose in contrast, like, what are the things that you feel being in the McLaren development program have actually helped you with the most, like the elements that you kind of went in feeling as though it would be great to get some more guidance on, you know, X?
Yeah, well, for me, before McLaren, my dad just ran my car, and I kind of come up the ranks with him. And really, because, you know, we've had sponsors that have helped us, but, you know, not to be able to run with an actual, you know, professional race team. So that was really the reason why, you know, it was a lot cheaper to have my dad mechanic in the car. My boyfriend also helped run the car. We transported it to and from ourselves. We prepped it in between and everything. So to be on McLaren this year and actually be with a professional team, not work with any kind of family members, like literally it's gone from a hobby to this is, my career now, which is just incredible. And to be working with an engineer and have, different mechanics and a driver coach and a team boss and actually teammates that I can compare data to. I've never had that before. It's always been me driving on my own and kind of trying to learn from myself. Whereas this year I've been able to come in and, Harry's gone quicker in first corner, so I've looked at the data and gone, right, he's carried another kilometre in and he's picked up power a bit earlier than I have, and then you can see straight away where you've lost time. So I think that's been a huge thing for me, and I had to get my head around it really quickly and use the three of them to help me improve through the year. So I think McLaren's just given me a huge step up into actually the professional kind of side of racing.
Yeah, 100%. I did want to chat as well about a couple of years ago, you were in an all-female team that did 24 hours at Silverstone and Spa, and I'd love to know kind of what that experience was like, because obviously this is a couple of years back, like you said, it wasn't kind of like a career as such for you yet, but I'd imagine that that was a pretty unique kind of experience, especially it being an all-female team as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of an idea that me and my dad came up with, and my dad actually ran the car, and myself and Alice Hughes, and I'm not sure if you know Alice, she was one of the instructors at Anglesey. We kind of came together, Alice's dad Steve as well, the four of us sat down, and we'd done one race already, me and Alice, at Croft, and we were leading the race, and then with about 5 minutes to go, the fuel light was flashing, and we thought, you know, and literally all the other cars in the race were starting to drop, and they were pulling over because it ran out of fuel. So unfortunately we had to pit, fuel up, which meant we lost the lead, but we still finished second. And you know, it was just supposed to be a bit, well, it was fun, and you know, we kind of came away from that and thought, right, well, you know, let's do some more. Obviously me and Alice are both girls, so we thought, right, well, let's try find another two girls, and we'll go do some 24-hour races. So we did a test day at Silverstone, and I think we invited 4 girls, and myself and Alice kind of coached them through the day, looked back at the video and stuff, and tried to give them pointers, and kind of really got to like try and know them through the day as well. We didn't want anyone that was like really shy, and we wanted to kind of make a bit of a video around it as well. So we wanted someone that, you know, could drive fast, but also, you know, like be able to stand up and talk in front of the camera and that kind of thing. So from that, we got another 2 girls, Sammy and Jem, who joined us for the 24-hour race. And qualifying, I think it was just one driver that had to qualify, and I was a nominated one, and I put our car 11th on the grid out of 150 cars.
Wow.
And I also did the opening stint, which was quite cool, and there's a really good picture of all the C1s lined up, like coming round on a rolling start, and everyone's in nice formation as the lights go out, and then there's just me coming around the outside of everyone at the first corner.
I love it.
Yeah, so the race went really well, you know, through the night was all good, and then through kind of the morning and around lunchtime, we had a few dramas. We got a puncture, one of the girls went off, and we had a bumper kind of hanging off that they had to come in and repair, and then Alice did the final stint, and I think we were running in 3rd, and we had a wheel bearing failure, so pretty much the whole stint, the right rear wheel was kind of, instead of it being straight, it was on an angle like that. So we were just all absolutely praying that it wasn't going to fail properly, you know, and fall off or anything. Luckily it stayed on, but I think we dropped back to 5th. So, you know, what could have been, we could have been on the podium out of, you know, 150 cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really, really good experience. And it's actually catapulted Jem and Sammy into the world of racing as well. I think Jem came from karts, and she's now in Brit Car with Praga. And Sammy's, you know, now racing minis and doing really well. So it was nice to kind of get them started and then, you know, send them off to do their own thing as well.
Yeah, 100%. And you kind of mentioned a couple of different avenues there that the girls have gone on. I think something that I come across a lot, even with just being involved with Formula One, people are like, oh, is your end goal to race a Formula One car? So it'd be interesting to hear a bit more about that, like where you kind of, what is your end goal, or what is like your dream, like series to be racing in, or car to be in, or whatever the case is?
To be honest, I'd just like to, you know, stay with McLaren and kind of keep climbing the ladder with them. You know, it's probably another year in GT4, and then hopefully, you know, into GT3 racing, which is then kind of into Europe and kind of traveling the world a lot. Would be really cool. But kind of the ultimate goal for me is no female has ever won Le Mans. The highest placed female is 4th. So there's kind of history out there to be written, and you know, to go and race at Le Mans and become the first girl to win it is kind of the ultimate goal for me. So, you know, if I can stay as a professional driver and kind of try and get to that goal, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I did want to mention as well, you're obviously an ambassador for Dare to Be Different, which is a really, really important initiative, I think, especially trying to get younger girls into motorsport in whatever, you know, not necessarily as just a driver, but whatever they're interested in. When you kind of, as part of that role, like, what do you find is kind of your biggest message that you kind of keep coming back to when you're chatting to people?
I think a lot of the problem lies with Formula One, because there's no girls on the grid, and you know, when people don't know about racing and they say, oh, so is, you know, what you do is that, you know, you're going to be in Formula One, and I'm like, no, it's like completely different. And people just kind of see F1 and think, oh, that's racing, and because there's no girls in it, all the young girls that are watching it think, oh, well, I can't do that, you know, because there's no girls there. So but I do think within the next 5 to 10 years there will be one, if not more, girls on the grid, and that would be, you know, great to see. But it's just finding the right one, and obviously it's a lot of money to go through the support series to get there as well. Yeah, I think what Dare to Be Different are doing, and now W Series as well, you know, they're showing that girls can compete fairly, you know, and I think it's the right thing to be doing is getting the younger audience into the sport at kind of grassroots level. That's a big thing. I was actually on a Formula Woman day yesterday, just a test day to get some of the girls ready for Bedford, and one of them said to me, I've never done it because I went to an all-girls school and I didn't know anything about racing, and now I really want to do it. And I don't think it's pushed through schools or anything like that. And I think if you know, which Dare to Be Different are doing now, they're pushing it through schools, and they're, you know, getting school girls to come and try karting and have a go. And it's not just the racing as well, you know, they push people through other areas of the motorsport industry, with engineering and, you know, being a mechanic, or even in the hospitality industry. There's so much around racing. It's not, you know, it's not just driving. So we are starting to see more girls coming through karting and kind of autocross and that kind of level, which, you know, I think within the next 5 years will kind of filter through, and hopefully we'll see some more girls on the GT grid rather than just me this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it will start and change now that, you know, people are realising it's a bit of an issue, and yeah, I think we'll see more girls come through.
Definitely glad to see that you're seeing that as well from where you are. Cool. So I have a kind of finisher that I like to do with people, just to like quick fire at the end. It's nothing too strenuous, so don't worry. So first question is, you've been spending a lot of time in Portimao lately with McLaren. What's your dream track that you haven't raced at yet?
I think, well, Portimao has become my new favourite track. But we got the call up this week to say that we're going to be racing in COTA in a couple of weeks' time.
Amazing.
McLaren. So I think, yeah, that's going to be the next track that's going to become the top of my list.
I love that. Amazing. I suppose on that note, do you prefer travelling or staying at home?
I think travelling has been pretty cool to go to some different places and get on a flight for once.
I know, especially after lockdown. Yeah.
And yeah, just travel for work, which is really strange to say, but yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess, what's your least favorite track that you've ever raced at, or like somewhere that every time you go you have some sort of thing happens? I
always used to have bad luck at Snap, But then this year been all right, and I now live 15 minutes away from the track, and I kind of got to like it. We had some really bad luck at Silverstone this year, but then I won a championship at Silverstone. Championship, so the
answer is none, which is actually technically good. You don't really want to have a least favorite, I guess. Who would you say is your most inspiring woman in motorsport?
Gosh, I think when I started to kind of go into Ginettas and through that route, and before GT racing and Dare to Be Different set up, I kind of looked up to Susie Wolff and what she did. And I also met her at a Dare to Be Different event. This is before I came an ambassador. And I got talking to her about what I'd done. I'd just won the junior championship, and she stopped the room from talking and she made me stand up and tell everyone what I'd done. And I was like, wow, God, it was really scary. And she was like, oh, hope you go far, and that she would, keep watching my journey and everything. So yeah, I think ever since then, kind of looked up to what she's done, and even after she's finished racing, she's kept in the sport and gone to different avenues like Formula E. So yeah,
100% agree. And then a random one to finish off. So if you could be any cartoon character from your childhood for a day, who would it be?
God, I can't even think what cartoons I used to watch.
The last person that I asked this question said they'd be Angelica from Rugrats, so that's a bit of inspiration for you.
Can't think of what. I don't think I actually watch any cartoons really that I can remember.
Too busy racing.
I used to watch Phineas and Ferb a lot. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I do.
They always used to do crazy things, and their sister would see, and then they'd get everything cleared up before their mum and dad, and his sister used to always try and get him in trouble, which is actually what my sisters used to do to me. I'd probably be one of the Phineas or Ferb. Nice,
you could relate. Brilliant. Well, look, if anyone is watching and wants to find out more about Katie, her website is katiemilner.com and her Instagram is katiemilner_. Thank you so much for joining me today and for taking the time to chat. It's been brilliant getting to know you, and best of luck for next year.
All right, thanks for having me.